I see Christmas candles on a Christmas tree.
What's all this crazy question they're asking me? This is the craziest party there could ever be. Don't turn on the lights, because I don't want to see.
Could you say that the animals themselves are some of the sinners that Jesus is eating with? And if so, how does that work?
It hints at that idea that all creation groans for the sons of men to be revealed. And the way I interpret that is for the version of humanity that Jesus embodied and Jesus was to become the new norm again, right? And I love that idea. I love playing with that idea. Through the years, I've just kind of paid attention. And there's been, some little clues. Like there was an owl that like for several weeks, like was just hanging out on Coast Vineyards campus during the day, like kind of just hanging out above, the sanctuary, the main building. He'd be there when we would be there for Tuesday morning prayer and just hanging out. And I have a working theory, that when worship is occurring, like I've watched our animals, like, our pets, our dogs and our cat, when we will sit down and we'll, whether through song, we will become aware of the presence of God and make ourselves available for it. The animals inevitably want to be there. Yeah. Like they want to be close to that in a way that if we're watching TV so to me, those are little, in Tim's way of making sense of the world, those are little clues that there is actually really something to that. So yeah, I wonder if the animals weren't, going on about their thing, but I wonder if they actually didn't sense that something was afoot,
Something felt good. They have more peace. I remember reading about St. Francis would go out and pray, and then animals would just gather around him. And so he's like, well, they're all here, so I guess I'll preach to them. And so he's singing to or preaching to animals. And it's the same thing. It's like they sense the redemption of a particularly God-focused person, and the animals are just like, that's where I want to be. And nature can't wait. So the animals had a good time in the barn or the cave, wherever they put Mary and Joseph and Jesus, and all of creation is waiting for us. We're like the lead. We get our thing going so that they can get their thing going, because it's probably not easy being an animal on planet Earth these days. Natural selection and the food chain and all that stuff,
I feel like there's no
fighting
place
for your life.
Yeah.
I feel like there's no place where you see the stark contrast between the beauty of creation and the brutality of creation, like you do in nature, right? Like all you got to do is watch the National Geographic video or something, or just go for a hike and see the feathers on the, on the trail where some poor pretty bird, became dinner.
Or our dog Cooper freaking out every time the UPS guy drops off a package. Like, I've got to save my house, because this world is not a safe place until the sons of God are revealed. So, well, thank you very much for kicking off Advent season. And I know you guys both have a passion, not only for Advent, which was good to hear, but for nature and a heart for nature. And so it's really fitting that you're talking about the nature tainted with sin and getting refreshed and ultimately completely made new again through Jesus and by virtue of his death, burial, and resurrection through us, which is kind of a crazy that nature is going to get redeemed because of us.
As you were speaking, and kind of what has been on our hearts is just how exciting it is that God, like, he did it in exact reverse of how he created the world, like man and Eve was created last, and she was the one who first took the fruit, and then he just basically uses, not uses in a bad way, but starts
with a woman, reverses
and reverses it outwards, and so it starts on the very inside, and just, we couldn't come up with that on, like, as a plan for restoration and salvation And it's just really beautiful that that's how God decided to do it. And it looks really messy, I think. And that's why we don't understand it, but it is very hopeful, especially if we're in a dark place or in a chaotic place or
Mhm.
things aren't perfect.
What I like about what you're saying is, I see, sin kind of passing in front of Adam's face, and he sees it land on Eve, like, oh, here we go. And then in the reverse order you're talking about, we see the Holy Spirit lighting on Eve, I mean on Mary, and then the work, and then here's Joseph just kind of saying, there it goes, And it's like we're just sort of like watching it happen, and it kind of begins and then turns backwards with the baby, with the mom and a baby, which is pretty crazy.
I just love that. And it makes me think that God is in part poet and artist, like the poetry of what Lisa just articulated, it moves me, and it's really cool. And I think it's part of it's just an outlandish way to go about fixing things, right?
The upside down way.
Yeah, to send a baby dependent on sinners and trusting the creator of all known things,
Mhm.
entrusting himself to the created thing that has jumped the trail and jumped the track and is intrinsically broken, and yet he's going to put himself in their hands and trust that it will be okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Phenomenal.
trusting broken people who he eventually will himself mend. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.